Hello, Tamara here. Nice of you to join me. And a very warm welcome to my channel. It's lovely to have you here with me today. And today's project, we're going to be looking or making the 8x8 mini album that I previously showed a walkthrough on my channel. If you want to see that walkthrough, then click on that link up there and that will take you to the walkthrough of this album. Now, I use the Stamperia papers from the Sea Dreams collection, which is this one here, and it's a very pretty paper. It's very feminine, but it's got some lovely, like, obviously the sea creatures in it. It's got your seals, your humpback whales, your orcas, that type of things in there as well, but they're done very vintagey and very it's very feminine sort of paper. So I've had it for a while, and I hadn't got an album that I've really wanted to make something with it. So when I thought of this one, I thought, oh, I've got the perfect papers for that. But any papers will work. Whatever papers you've got will, you know, lend itself to this album. There will also be a PDF cutting guide that will accompany this video, and the links for that will be, as always, in the description box down below. So if you click on that and it says there show more, click on the show more, and the PDF is right at the bottom of all my other links. So just click on that and it'll take you to the downloadable PDF, so that you can either cut your pieces out beforehand, or cut them out and or have a look at it and see what you think. Now, the PDF guide is made to accompany this video, so parts of it will not make sense until you've watched the video. So I always advise watching the two, you know, using the two side by side to get the full benefit of it. Now, I'm going to show you two different ways of how to cover your grey board. Now, the grey board that I'm using is a 2mm grey board, or a 2000 micron weight of grey board, so it's quite a substantial amount. I prefer to use the thicker grey board. I think it gives a nicer finish on the outside of your albums. It's more robust because it's thicker, but you can use a lesser weight. So if you're using like a 1mm grey board, just bear in mind that your album covers will be that little bit more bendable, more flimsy, whereas with the 2000 weight, or the 2mm weight, they are a bit more substantial, a bit more rigid. But you can obviously use the lesser weights. If you use the 2mm grey board and you've got either a guillotine or a trim, especially if you've got a paper trimmer, like, say for instance my one of these, what you will need to do to cut your grey board is, especially if you're using the 2mm, now these trimmers, they only cut down to 1mm depth. Okay, so what you will need to do is get your measurements. You will need to score it, oh sorry, not score it, cut it on one side, turn it over, and then cut it again on the back side. So that then, in theory, gives you that cut on both sides for your 1mm depth. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. Obviously, if you've got a guillotine, that should, like one of the tonic ones, I used to cut mine with one of the tonic ones before, that works. Or you could use a ruler and a craft knife, that works just as perfectly. But make sure you use a safety ruler if you're using that, just in case you you know, have an accident. So be careful when you're doing things like that. I've got one of the big industrial guillotines that cuts like 500 pieces of card at once. Mine wasn't that expensive. Mine was probably about £85, I think. Mine was. You just have to have somewhere nice to store it, because it is a beast of a machine. And but I find that because I cut a lot of grey boards, it was a lot quicker for me to just cut them, you know, cut like 6 or 7 sheets at once, so I can you know, it works brilliantly for me. I just got the A4 size one because I thought I'm not going to be cutting 12 by 12 grey board, so I thought that would work perfectly for me, and it has. I must admit, it's brilliant. I love it. And yeah, so I would recommend getting one of those. If you're interested, if you leave me a comment down below, I'll put the link in of the one that I've got, and then you can have a look at it for yourselves. So that's the trimmer side of it. Now, as I say, I'm going to do 2 ways. So I'm going to use my black cardstock to cover my obviously my grey board, and I'm also going to use the construction method as well, because if you haven't got construction tape, then I suggest you absolutely go and get it. It's such a game changer in making your albums. It really, really is. I love that method. But if you want to just try it, because we've all got cardstock at home, you can just try it both ways and see how you feel. So with this particular album, because we are doing a bigger size than 6x6, our cardstock needs to be bigger than A4. Now, if I was doing so if I was doing a 6x6 album, your A4 sheets of cardstock would be brilliant to cover your grey board. But because this is the 8x8, we need 12x12 or A3. If you've got A3, brilliant. I've only got 12x12 sheets in black anyway, so that's what I'm going to show you how to cover that first of all. So with that, you need your double-sided tape. Now, I thought I was all organised and had it all ready, but in true Tamara fashion, I still need to get something. So I'm just going to use my red liner tape on the outside of my cover, just at the moment. If you've got your score tape but in the 1/2 inch size, that would be brilliant as well. Okay, before you put your 2 pieces of cardstock together, you need to trim off for me on just one edge. You need to trim off 1 1/4 inches. So putting the 2 pieces together, we're just going to trim off one edge like so. Okay, let's take them out of the way. And then, so the edge that you've cut off is going to be, so you've cut off this edge, but this edge here is going to be your top, okay? Because we want the length, but we don't need the depth. So I like to use the wider double-sided tape, especially if I'm wrapping my grey board in cardstock, because it gives me a guide of what to work to. So we're going to put the double-sided tape as near to that edge as we can. Okay, don't go over the edge, but as near to that edge as you possibly can. Now also, while working with double-sided red liner tape, especially when I'm teaching, it actually shows you the importance of burnishing down your double-sided tape. Now, if I just find my, excuse the noise, my lovely trusty Teflon tool. Now, if you can see on that double-sided tape, can you see there's like lots of little air pockets inside that double-sided tape? Now, watch this. Now, I might bring you down closer for this because it is pretty good. So, sorry, I come back too fast then. So, the U Teflon tool, mine's a bit, there we go, that's a lot better. It's a bit manky, it needs a bit of a wash. So, I'm going to start from this edge and I'm going to go all the way down. And you'll see, as I burnish, I'm getting rid of all them, that air bubbles. You won't get rid of them all, but you'll get rid of most of them. And then that's going to create a much better adhesion to your cardstock than what it would do if you just left it. So it just shows you that it's so important to burnish down your double-sided tape. Okay, it makes it so much easier. So, and you get a better stick. It doesn't make it so much easier, you just get a better stick. But the red liner tape is brilliant to show you that how important it is. So, with your double-sided tape on facing upwards towards you, I'm going to put my next piece of card over the top of that. Now, I'm going to be very careful and try and line them up with the edge of that double-sided tape, like so. There we go. And then burnish down when you're happy. Okay. Now the Teflon tool, if you've watched any of my videos, is my best friend. I love it because, especially if you're working with black card, it doesn't leave that mark. You know, the only way I can describe it is if you've got a pair of black trousers or black pants and you've got a crease down the centre of your front leg. If you then iron those black trousers and keep ironing them, eventually your fabric will start to take on a natural shine. So where you've then ironed them, you'll get that that sort of shiny look to your trousers. That's what happens if you don't use a Teflon tool on your black cardstock. You'll end up with a shine. So we'll demonstrate. So bone folder, black card, and you can see. Now I'm just going to turn that over and we'll push that down to create that. Now can you see, you may not see it on here, but you get a bit of a shine on that black card. So what we need to do now is draw our measurement guides along the left hand side and the bottom of our cardstock, and those measurements are, so it will be a 1 1/8 of an inch measurement along the left hand side, and then a 1 1/8 of an inch measurement along the bottom. Now this is just going to be a guide, so don't fret too much about it. Okay, and you don't have to go all the way to the edge on this edge. This is so big I can't get it all in shot. There we go. So we've got a 1 1/8 of an inch measurement down the left hand side and a 1 1/8 of an inch measurement along the bottom. Okay, now the grey board which I didn't say the measurement to, which I should have done, is 8 3/4 by 8 1/4, and 8 3/4 by 8 1/4. So that's the measurement that you need. Now you need the 8 1/4 measurement to be at the top, and the 8 3/4 measurement needs to be to the side, okay, because we need that 8 3/4 measurement along to be the width of our album, so that we can keep our pages at 8 by 8. Because I'm using the extendable hinge, I'll actually have an extra 1/4 inch, so I didn't want to take it away from the pages, so I've actually added the grey board. I've added the measurement onto the grey board so that we can keep, as I say, our pages nice and square. So make sure that you've got both of your pieces the right way around, like so. And that's brilliant. We can put these two to the side, and we're going to work on the spine. Now the spine measurement is 3 inches by 8 1/4. Okay, that's our spine measurement. Now finding the center of our spine, which will be 1 1/2. Okay, so just going to put a mark there and a mark here. Now don't worry, because this is going to be covered, so you won't see any of these marks on there. So we've divided our spine into 2. We found the center mark. So the center mark on mine is 1 1/2 to give me my center line. I had to think then. So working on your spine. Now what we're trying to do, or trying to achieve with this, is this join, I want it to be in the middle of my spine on the outside. Okay, it just makes for a better album in my mind, because you don't want to have this spine halfway hanging over onto your back cover. If you want to, that's up to you, but I prefer it in the middle. It's just the way I am. So we need to find then the measurement of where this is. Now because I used my 1/2 inch tape, I've got that measurement already there. So I'm just going to put a mark there. So I've come across, I'm hoping that you can see that. I'll bring you down so that you can. Oh, sorry, close your eyes because it's going to go really fast. There we are. So that there is where I've overlapped. That's where I've used my 1/2 inch tape, and this is where it comes in handy. So I've just used my ruler just to give me a guide to make sure I'm in the right place, and I'm just going to mark that edge. I'll turn it round because it's easier, and again just get your 1/2 inch and then put that mark there. So we're going to join them two up. Again, don't worry about your pencil marks because you won't see this. This will be covered. Okay, but if you want to do it faintly, then do it. It's just a guide so that you can see it more than anything. So then when we come to put our spine on, that join on the opposite side is going to be in the middle of the spine on the outside. I hope that makes sense. So let's start to get this into place. Now I've just bought myself some new spacers. Now these come These are from CoolKats, and they are fantastic for spacing your album between your cover and your spine. Now, I've used the plastic ones as well in the past, and I've still got them, but I lost one of the 1/4 inch ones. I don't know where it went, so I had to reorder them. So I've bought these ones because I use them all also an awful lot. I thought I'd treat myself and get the stainless steel ones, but the plastic ones, which are here, are just as good. They are just as good. They work brilliantly, and they come in different sizes as well, so depending on your width of your album, you've got the spaces already there. Now, if you haven't got any spaces, do not worry, because what we used to do before we had spaces were using 2 pieces of grey board together, like so. So if you're using the 2mm grey board, put 2 pieces of your 2mm grey board together. Now, you will have some offcuts, so use your offcuts from your papers that your grey board that you've already cut, and you can then use that as your spacer in between. Okay, and it will work, because 2 of these together is roughly about 1/4 inch. Now, if you wanted to, you could put an extra one on there, so have 3 pieces together. That way you probably won't get any cracking to your spines if you have 3 pieces together. But since I've been using these spacers for my albums, I've not had one single cracked spine join, and they do really work really well. So, using your pencil line, we're going to join up our centre line on our spine to our centre line that we've drawn on our join on the cardstock. So on these, I always put a line of double-sided tape. Now, I've just picked up my red liner tape. You don't have to, if you've got score tape, then use that. It's just that I picked it up. Now, I tend to always put a line of double-sided tape either on the top of your grey board or along the bottom. That way we can start working with our album straight away. If I just used glue, you would end up having to wait a little bit until your glue sets, because what you don't want to happen is then you start pulling and poking at your album and it starts to move, and then you end up with wonky wrapped album covers, and it's not a pretty sight, I can tell you. So, starting on then the spine, we'll pull that over, and I'm going to then add my glue to the rest of the grey board. Okay, like so. Ooh. And a nice line. Okay, so lining up your marks that you've made and your mark along the bottom, we're going to put that into place, and as you've got the glue on the top bit of your grey board, you've got a little bit of wiggle room to be able to get that stuck down. Okay, so that's our first bit into place. The next bit we're going to use is the spacers here. Now, I've just realised I've drawn this line here and I didn't need to, but never mind. We live and learn. So, getting my spacers into place. Now, they work. They're quite self-explanatory. you put the top bit along the top or the bottom, and then you're going to butt your next piece of grey board up against it. So again, with the tape along the bottom, and then you're going to use your glue quite a bit of glue, because you want it to stick, you don't want it to start to come up. Okay, pushing that against that spacer. Okay, push that down. What this also ensures is that you have your tops and bottoms are level, so that the top of the line along the top where your album is going to be level with each other. So that's another good tip for these spacers. So when you're happy and it's all stuck down, take out your spacer or spacers and move it to the next side. Take off the double-sided tape. And then glue. Does anybody else make a pattern with their glue? Or do you all stick with the same thing? I sometimes do little smiley faces, or don't ask me why, I just do. So, butting them up against each other again, pushing them down so that they are nice and level, and then burnish that down. Okay, take out your spacers. Now I'm going to put these back in their little home so that I do not lose these ones. So they go in there. Okay, so I hope you're with me so far, and I'm not going too fast. Right, so once we've got our album covered, then we can then start to really put it all together. Now, as I say, take no notice of my two ends here that are, this is obviously a lot more than this side because I measured wrong, so there will be an amendment to that, and you won't do this, you won't do it wrong, you'll do it correctly. It's just that I miscalculated, so please don't take any notice of the two different sizes. So once we've got our cover ready, we then need to think about doing our corners. Now, I've got numerous different corner tools that I use. I've got this new one. I haven't used this one yet. This one, it came with my spacers, but I've also got these plastic ones here. These ones come from a place on Etsy called iBookbinding, and they just give you get a couple of different sizes in the set, depending on what grey board you're cutting. So if you're cutting a 1mm grey board, you would use the 1mm spacer. What that entails is it makes sure that you've got the exact amount of cardstock around your corner, so that you don't end up cutting more off and then you end up seeing your grey board underneath, which can be a bit unsightly. If you do, don't worry, because there is a fix for it. But so that's those ones, but I'm going to use the Cool Cats ones because I just like the feel of them, to be honest. So all you do is you use the corners and you put it into that triangle shape, and all we're going to do is draw a line. Now you could use your craft knife to cut this off. Now, because this is stainless steel, that would work brilliantly, but I like to use my scissors and cut these off. Don't ask me why, I just do. So you go around all 4 corners like so. Okay, put this back so that I do not lose it, and my spacers, put them back into the little pot. Okay, now we're going to cut these corners off, so you're going to miter those corners, so using your pencil line as your guide. Chop them off. 1, 2, 3. That's 1, 4. Right, like so. So you should end up with something that looks like this. Now, I know it's taken us a long time to get to this point, but once you get more confident in making your albums, this will take you in next to no time at all. You could have a book covered in less than 5-10 minutes. So yeah, so it is quite quick. Once you get the hang of it, it is a quite quick job. So just because I've got my red liner tape, I'm going to use that again. Now you can go all the way along and all the way along. I personally don't like to do that, for the simple reason it being, I always end up with a squeaky book. Now if you don't mind a squeaky book, then you know, go ahead and do that, but I always find that they squeak. So if you put your double-sided tape all the way along here, especially, not so much on the top, because the top doesn't seem to matter so much. Don't ask me again why, because it doesn't. So I tend to just do it in bits. So what you want to do is double-sided tape on the edge of your grey board, and then all the way on the edge of your cardstock at the top. So if I turn this round again and show you, we can then cover this same side again. So cover along the bottom, and then again along the top of your cardstock. Turn it round and do the opposite side. So again, I'm just going to go and stop where that join is. Stop where that join is. And then stop where that edge is, like so. Then I can come along the top. I'm hoping this is going to last, this tape. Just let me do the last little bit. I think it might just last. I love it when a plan comes together. Oh, just. And I've got a tiny bit left to spare. Look at that. That's all I got left before I've ended the roll. Oh, I love to get in a new roll now. So once you've got your project looking like that, what we need to do now is we need to score our lines that are going to go over onto to attach to our grey board. Now you can use a bone folder, and all I do is I'm just going to score just on my desk, just to start breaking up them fibres. Just score around using your grey board as your guide. It just breaks the fibres up, that's all it does. So you're going to use your grey board as a resist onto your cardstock, okay, and just bring that over, and then while that's over, you're going to just use your fingers and your hands just to score that edge, just to bring that cardstock over, like so. So once you've done the two sides, like so, I always do the long sides first. And
sorry, I'm not sure.
Open those bits out and then do the two short sides. And the two short sides might be a little bit more difficult, so you can just push them over like so. Turn it around, push them over like so. So once you're happy and they're scored exactly how you want it, you will notice that you've got, when you close them, you've got this sticky out edge bit, sticky out corner. So let me push you down, then hopefully you can see. Come on, a bit faster. Okay, so move that over. So can you see when I close those two over, I've got this sticky out bit here. It doesn't look nice. So to get rid of that, you're using your Teflon tool or your bone folder, whatever you've got, we're going to just push those corners in, okay, like so, on all four of your corners. So I'll come round and do it on this one. I needed to do it this way, I'm right-handed, so it makes it a bit harder. So just push that corner in, okay. Now my cardstock is a bit thin to do this, so it is cracking a little bit because it's the only 12 by 12 cardstock I had. So this is probably about a 200 weight, which is possibly a bit too a bit too thin, but yours won't crack. I use a 220 and it doesn't crack at all. So it's just because I've used a thinner card. So once you're happy with that, we can then go ahead and take off our double-sided tape. Now, I tend to do the opposite sides together. So I'll do the two long pieces and then I'll do the two short edges. Okay, so let's just take that off. And then take this bit off here. And get stuck to everything. I did say I was going to use a little bit of glue, and the glue I'm just going to put in the center here, so it's going to go in between the two double-sided tape lines, okay, and it's just a little bit just like that. It's just to help with the stick, that's all, so it doesn't start to lift. Okay. So once you've done that one side, turn over and you can do the next. So let me bring you up again because I forgot. So once we've done that side, take your double-sided tape off of the opposite edge, like so, like so, and then the long piece. Okay, put your glue in the center there. Okay, and then fold over. Like so. Oh, let's see, I've ended up with a, this is sometimes what happens, you end up, there we go, with a crease, but I've managed to fix that before it ended up anything more. Okay. So once you've done those, you can then go ahead and do the opposite edges. I might have to bring that round like that because I want to show you how we then bend it in the middle. Okay, so again, I'm going to use my bone folder for this one. Just push them over like so. There we are, that one. And then this side. Oh, I forgot to put my glue on that one. Okay, food glue on this side. Okay. And then use your bone folder just to push that over like so. Okay, now to bend them in the middle, I always use my ruler, and I put the ruler so that it is just in that bend, and then I just bring my cover up and over. Okay, and then I'll do the same with the other side. Bring that up and over. As you can see, I'll bring that this bit. There we go. And then give it a little wiggle, and then that is your cover. Your book, then it's starting to take shape like so. So that then is your front cover, covering using your cardstock. So to cover it now with our construction tape, so with our cardstock pieces, sorry, our grey board pieces, you can either do it where you put the whole album together first, and then your whole front covers together, and then edge the edges, or you can edge your edges first. So edging your edges first. Now we don't need to worry about one edge on either of the grey board pieces or the two edges on our spine. Okay, so remember to get this in the right way, because we have got them at 8 3/4 by 8 1/4. So your 8 3/4 needs to go to the sides, and your 8 1/4 needs to go to the top and the bottom. Okay, so 8 1/4. So edging these, you need your tape to be on halfway on and halfway off the other side. So you're actually going onto the edge here of your chipboard. Okay. Now if you want to try this method, I would suggest using rubbish cardstock that you've maybe got, and maybe some like a cereal box or something like that, something that you can just practice on. Now if you haven't got the construction tape, you could use just normal masking tape, just until you get the hang of it, because you might buy it and think, oh, I don't like it. I can't see that happening, mind you, but you never know. So what I've done there is I've put it onto my three sides, and then in the two corners here on both sides of my grey board, I've just cut a little nick into that. So what we're going to do is you're going to just pinch it from the middle and pinch it and push it down, okay, so that your tape then starts to stick to both edges of your grey board piece. Okay, so it looks like that. Can you see that I've got it that side? Turn it over, and I've got it that side as well. So then you're left with these wingy bits here. You see they look like little wings. We're just going to miter those corners. So where that construction tape is, you're just going to mitre them so they then become like a little aeroplane. Okay. So once you've done that, we're going to do exactly the same thing. Push down on both sides so that your construction tape then adheres to both sides of that grey board piece. Okay, so we do the same on this side. Looks like a little fly thing. You're making it into a aeroplane. Push down from the centre all the way along, like so. So then you end up with a piece of grey board that looks like that. Now if you've got little creases in it, then you can again do the same thing, just burnish down, and you will be able to iron out any creases that you have in your construction tape. Like so. I like to go along the top as well and the sides so that the tape then sticks to the edge of the grey board as well. You're going to go ahead and do the same on your back cover. So once you've done that, you're going to do your spine, and we said the spine is just going to be the top and the bottom edges. Okay, so come on, cut that off, push that down, and then these ones are easier. You just push that tape on down on both sides. If you've got a bit of overhang, just cut that off, and that is brilliant. Again, ironing out any creases or air bubbles you may have in the tape. Okay, so cut that off and push down. Right, so once you've then finished edging your grey board, you are ready for to join them together. So again, using your construction tape and your spacers. Now again, I'm just going to bring these ones out. So we'll need them. So how I do it, because I craft standing up, I tend to reel out quite a bit of your construction tape. I then hang the reel off the edge of my table. Get one piece, either your spine or your cover, and you're going to place it so that it's half on that construction tape. Okay, so you end up with a good 4 or 5 inches, it doesn't matter, 3 inches, 4 inches at the top, and then you've got your reel hanging off the edge of your table here. Okay, bring in your spacers, and again they work by just pushing them into that corner and then into the bottom corner, like so, exactly the same way as what you do when we cover it with paper or with card. Take your spine, and your spine is going to fit in beside that. Okay, and then up again as snug as you can get it on both sides. I'm going to start with that bit because I think this got a bit hanging off there and it's not working, so go away. There, you're messing up my measurements. So push that then into that little depress there, and then push that down. Okay, once you're happy, push it down, and then I tend to hang it off the edge, and then that will release my first spacer, and then I kind of tend to pull it up and then just release it upwards that way. Okay, and then this side, once you've got that, keeping that gap in between, pull that piece over and stick it down, and then bring up your reel and cut off a little bit and pull that up as well, and then stick that down, okay, like so. So that's one side. So you're going to repeat that on the other. So I'm going to stick this onto here like so, spacer in there, spacer in there. Remember to keep your pieces the right way, so you need your 8 3/4 this side. Right, push that in and then burnish that down so that it's in. Take off one spacer, take off the other. Be gentle, you don't want to rip it. Pull that over, do the same. So they overlap a little bit. There we are. And then that then is the start of your book. Now that is that's quite a quick and easy way to, you know, get your album literally stuck together. Okay, so I've got my two different covered outer edges. I'm actually going to be working in the one that I've done the construction tape on, and not so much this one. I think because this cardstock was very thin, I think this was about a 180 weight, and it's just that little bit too sort of lightweight for the outer edges, but as I say, it was the only cardstock I had that was 12 by 12. I didn't even have any A3, so you could either use A3 or 12 by 12. It works perfectly for this type of wrap. So don't worry, that won't go to waste because I can peel it off and restart. So we're going to be working in the one that I've done the construction tape, but if you've done that technique, these are exactly the same measurements. So you'll need your black cardstock or whatever cardstock you're going to use. As I previously say, the cardstock weight that I use is 220 GSM. I use a mixture of 220 or 210, depending on what I'm doing really. I tend to try and use the higher, well, I use this higher weight throughout, but if I know that I'm going to have a lot of flips and flaps, I'll use the lower weight. So if I've got loads of flips and flaps and pockets and things, I'll go with the 210. But if I've obviously designed it and it's going to be not as flippy and flappy, then I'll go with the 220. So we need to do, first of all, now our hinge mount, and we need to cut out our hinges. So the hinge mount measurement will be 6 by 8, and so we'll go 6 by 8, and then while we've got our trimmer out, we'll do our hinges as well. So this is the spine mount, and it's 6 by 8 inches. Okay, put that to the side. Now this part that you have actually cut off, you can use for part of your hinge. So hinge 1 is going to be 4 inches by 8 inches. So 4 inches by 8 inches. So that's hinge 1, and that's 4 by 8. And then hinge 2 measures 3 by 8. So that's 3 by 8. So, if you've got one of these trimmers, then lovely. If you've got a scoreboard, now would be the time to get that out. I'm just going to write hinge 2, 3, 8. So, bringing in hinge 1, you're going to make these scores now. We're going to score it on these 2 sides. So we're going to, first score is going to be at 1/2. Second score is at 1. Third score is 1.5. Okay, on this side. Then what we're going to do is turn our card round 180 degrees, and we're going to score the opposite side again at 1/2, at 1, and at 1.5. Okay, so that's your scored measurements. So we're going to go with 1/2, at 1, and at 1.5. I'm going to turn it around and do the same, 1/2, at 1, and at 1.5, like so. So you're left then with this 1 inch piece in the middle, okay, and you've got 3 score lines either side. That's brilliant. So bringing in your hinge 2, we're going to score these long sides again, exactly the same, but this one we're going to score at 1/2 and at 1. Turn it over and score at 1/2 and 1 again. Okay, so I'll score it on this side. So we go 1/2 and 1, 180 degrees, score it at 1/2 and 1 again. Okay, so put your scoring board away for the moment. Bring in your hinge pieces. We're going to start with the bigger of the hinges, and we need to fold the score lines. So you need to fold the first 2 score lines over so that they are creased. If you fold them over both sides, that will then give your hinges a bit more movement. Fold. You really only need to fold 2 of those, because that score line there, that's just a guide. Okay, so the score line in the middle is just your guide. So fold the next, your other hinge piece, like so, and then this piece is going to fit nice and snugly once I get them sorted out. It's going to fit in between those 2 scored lines that those extra lines, like so. Okay, so to stick them together, you need your double-sided tape, and I did have it. Did I put it away? I think I did. I got it out as well. Okay, not to worry, she says. Okay, so we're going to take the back of this, your first hinge. So I'm going to just use the back that's got my writing on. And I'm just going to put some double-sided tape down two edges. So it's in the middle, but in between those two scored edges. Okay, there. I might just get a rubber because I've got a feeling that that will show. So on the back of your second hinge, we're going to put our double-sided tape. It goes along the outer edge and the outer edge. So what you've done, I'll show you in a second. So what I've done, if I open it out, you can see. So I've got 1, 2, 1, 2. And then you've got those two extra score lines that are running down the side there. You're going to put your double-sided tape in between that gully, okay, in between there, because that's going to be stuck down. Okay, so to stick them together, just take the backing off the second hinge and get your glue, because we need a bit of wiggle time with this. So I've actually put in the double-sided tape is for it to stick now, okay, and the glue is to help it stick later. But because we need to be quite precise with this, I like to give myself a bit of wiggle time in putting this together. So holding them like so, okay, you're going to guide this into place, and it's going to fit in between those two scored lines in the middle, okay, like so. And then that helps you also get your lines nice and straight, because we don't want to have wonky pages. We need them to be nice and straight. And I think that's going to be okay. Might be a little bit over that side, but that's not too bad. Right, so burnish that down when you're happy. Okay, and then that's your hinge system ready to go. So bringing in your outer edge, your folders, again, work out what side you want to be the front, inside and outside. And then our spine mount's obviously going to fit across the spine. Now the spine mount is something that, because we've got tape on here, our book is quite floppy. So to help get your book to be more rigid, we use a spine mount, and that will help strengthen the spine and help it to sort of stay more in shape. So what we do with that is we have a line of double-sided tape down one side of the spine but onto your cover, and then one down the other join, but this time goes onto the spine. Now don't go right to the edge here, because you don't want to see double-sided tape sticking out the edge of your spine mount, because it will look nasty. So you want it to be kind of, well, so that you can't see it. So once you've done that, get in your spine mount, and you need to put your tape all around the 4 sides. 1, 2. I found that if you stick it in place all the way around, it bows and it doesn't work. Using this way, this method, with only using a little bit of tape, really does help it. But I'm also going to put one down the middle, like so. So, taking off the backing. Now, it's crucial you try and get your spine mount as level and as straight as possible, because you're going to use that as a guide when we come to put our pages in. So it needs to be relatively straight. Okay, last one. Right, I'm going to put all these pieces of backing back into the bin. So I'm trying to keep a nice, neat working area. Okay, so with your spine mount, let's line it up. Now I'm just going to bring this over a little bit, because I need to just make sure that we've got it equal and even at the top and at the bottom, like so. Then when you're happy, so I've got it as even as I can from the top, bottom and the top. It doesn't matter so much if this isn't even this side, because we're not going to see that. So when you're happy, we can burnish that down, like so. Okay, and then using your trusty ruler, we can just ease those covers up to create your join. That's it. And sort of to bend the fibres of your paper, of your cardstock. Give it a little wiggle. Do a little wiggle as well. I'm wiggling, I'm wiggling, and I'm jiggling. Okay, and then as you can see, that does really help with it to stand up straight, a bit more straighter than what it does if you haven't got that on. So next you've got your hinges. Now again, with this, we need to work out the distance. So I just put a 1/2 inch measurement there, and then a 1/2 inch measurement there. Come up and do the same at the top, there and there, and then I just draw a very faint line, very faint. You probably won't even see it on camera because it's that faint. Okay, like so. Oh, you can. I mean, that's quite faint. And then your spine mount is going to fit inside of those lines. Okay. It could be that they come out just a little bit, but that's okay. Once we pull that over, they will sit in between that. So we need a double-sided tape again. I'm going to put some in the middle of this, and also my glue. So let's just take off one, 2, 3, and how does that block up in the space of 30 seconds? Okay, glue, just put some over those double-sided tapes. Okay, let's get this in. And again, try and get this as level as you can. There we go, I think that's about right. Okay, burnish that down. Okay, and then that is the basis of our book finished. Thanks for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that notification bell as well. That way you will be notified every time I upload new content to my channel. Please give me a like as well, because that really does help the channel grow, and it sends a message to YouTube to say that people like this video, so that they end up showing it to more people. So it really does help. Come and follow me on social medias. All those links will be in the description box down below as always, as well as a few shopping links as well. There are some affiliated links and not affiliated links, so click on some of those to see which products I used in this video. Thanks again for watching. Hope to see you soon. Bye!